Dr. Alina Volkov stood at the observation deck of the Luna Research Station, her dark eyes fixed on the shimmering barrier that now enclosed humanity's solar system. The containment field stretched like a cosmic web across the stars, a constant reminder of the galactic conclave's judgment. 6 months had passed since the verdict, but the sting of betrayal hadn't diminished. The conclave's decision had been swift and brutal. Humanity was deemed too volatile, too unpredictable to join the galactic community. The Auroran representatives, with their crystalline bodies and supposed moral superiority, had led the charge against Earth. "They're too young," they had declared, "too prone to violence, too quick to embrace change." The judgment came down like a hammer, complete isolation until humanity matured, a process the conclave estimated would take thousands of years. Alina's hands tightened around the datapad containing her latest calculations. At 43, she had spent her entire career studying quantum mechanics, but now her research had taken on new urgency. The Russians used to say that necessity was the mother of invention, and humanity had never faced a greater necessity. "Doctor, you need to see this." The voice belonged to Dr. Raj Patel, her youngest but most brilliant team member. His usually calm demeanor was cracking with excitement as he rushed into the observation room. "The quantum tunneling experiment, it worked." Alina's heart skipped a beat. "Show me." In the basement laboratory, holographic displays showed the results of their latest test. A simple probe, no bigger than a coffee cup, had successfully phased through a miniature version of the containment field. The conclave's barrier operated on principles of standard space-time manipulation, but Alina's team had discovered something else entirely. "It's not just passing through," Raj explained, his fingers dancing across the controls. "It's existing in a state of quantum superposition. The barrier can't detect it because, in a way, it's not fully there." Alina allowed herself a small smile. The conclave thinks they understand all there is to know about physics. Their arrogance will be their undoing. Within hours, the secure quantum channel was buzzing with encrypted messages to key facilities around Earth. Operation Prometheus, as they called it, was no longer theoretical. In a hidden facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Director Nathan Chen of the United Earth Defense Force received the news with grim satisfaction. "How long until we can scale it up?" Nathan's hologram asked during the emergency briefing. His weathered face showed the strain of months spent preparing for this moment. 9 months for a human-rated prototype," Alina replied. "But we'll need resources, and we'll need to keep it hidden from the conclave's sensors." "You'll have whatever you need," Nathan assured her. "The Lunar Dark Side facilities are yours. I'm assigning you Captain James Wilson and his engineering team. They're the best we have." The next few months passed in a blur of activity. While the world's governments maintained a facade of acceptance towards their containment, beneath the surface, humanity prepared. Captain Wilson proved invaluable, his military precision complementing Alina's theoretical brilliance. "The power requirements are immense," James noted one evening, his dark skin illuminated by the glow of engineering schematics. "We'll need to completely redesign our conventional engine systems." "Then we redesign them," Alina stated firmly. "The conclave expects us to spend centuries accepting our fate. Instead, we'll use that time to perfect our escape." The breakthrough came on a quiet Tuesday, 7 months into the project. Alina was reviewing power distribution calculations when Raj burst into her office. His Indian accent thickened with excitement. "We solved the phase stability issue. The quantum field can be maintained indefinitely with the new configuration." The first full-scale test was conducted in absolute secrecy. A prototype ship, christened Prometheus, sat in the darkness of the lunar far side. Captain Wilson stood at the helm, with Alina and her team monitoring from a heavily shielded bunker. "Quantum drive engaging," James reported, his voice steady despite the historic moment. "Phase shift in 3, 2, 1. The ship shimmered like a heat mirage, then seemed to partially fade from reality. It moved forward, approaching the barrier that had kept humanity caged. In the control room, Alina held her breath. The Prometheus passed through the containment field as if it wasn't there. No alarms sounded. No conclave ships appeared to investigate. On the other side, James's voice crackled through the quantum-encrypted channel. "Breakthrough achieved. We're free." Alina felt tears in her eyes as she looked at her team. Raj was openly weeping, while other scientists hugged each other in joy. But she knew this was just the beginning. "Prepare for Phase 2, she transmitted to Nathan. "It's time to show the galaxy that humanity won't be contained." As the Prometheus returned safely to lunar dock, Alina watched the stars through the observation window. The Conclave thought they had imprisoned humanity. Instead, they had given them the motivation to achieve the impossible. Soon, those stars would know the true potential of the human spirit. The exile's dawn was breaking, and with it, humanity's rise to the stars had begun. Commander Marcus Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Hyperion, Earth's first true stealth carrier, watching as 3 more ships materialized from quantum phase. 5 years had passed since the Prometheus's historic flight, and humanity had not wasted a single day. The Hyperion hung in space 30 light-years from Earth, hidden within the dust clouds of a young star system. Below in the cargo bay, construction drones waited to begin their work. This system would become humanity's first extrasolar colony, codenamed Haven. "All ships report successful transit," Lieutenant Diana Reeves announced from her station, dark fingers dancing across holographic controls. "No sign of conclave detection." Marcus nodded, his expression grim. At 45, he had spent half his life in space, but nothing had prepared him for commanding humanity's first major exodus. "Begin orbital deployment. Let's get those habitats built before anyone comes looking this way." The next 12 hours were a whirlwind of activity. The ships had brought everything needed to establish a permanent presence: prefabricated habitat modules, atmospheric processors, and defensive systems cleverly disguised as mineral extraction equipment. The Conclave might rule the galaxy, but they had grown complacent in their power. They never expected their prisoners to slip away under their very noses. "Commander," Diana called out, "Dr. Volkov is requesting to speak with you." Alina's hologram appeared on the bridge, her image slightly distorted by the quantum encryption. "Marcus, the latest data from Earth is promising. The Conclave's patrol patterns haven't changed. They still believe their barrier is impenetrable." "Their arrogance is our advantage," Marcus replied. "How are the new ships coming along?" "The lunar shipyards are operating at full capacity. We've refined the quantum drive further. The next generation of ships will be able to maintain phase state twice as long." Alina's eyes gleamed with pride. "We're also training more crews. Within 2 years, we'll be ready for Phase 3. Marcus turned to look at the massive construction project unfolding below. Huge habitat rings were taking shape, their surfaces designed to reflect minimal light. Soon, thousands of carefully selected colonists would arrive, establishing humanity's first foothold among the stars. "Commander," the urgent voice belonged to Security Chief Michael O'Connor. "Long-range sensors are picking up something. Conclave signatures heading this way." Marcus's military training kicked in instantly. "How many?" "2 vessels, looks like a routine patrol. They're not on an intercept course, but they'll pass within detection range in 6 hours. "Initiate silent protocol," Marcus ordered. All external lights on the ships and construction projects winked out. The quantum drives hummed to life, ready to shift the fleet out of normal spacetime if needed. Alina's hologram watched the activity with concern. "Should we abort the mission?" "No," Marcus decided. "We've come too far. Chief O'Connor, what's their projected course?" Michael pulled up a tactical display. "They're following standard search patterns. If we maintain complete emissions control, we should remain undetected." The next 6 hours were the longest of Marcus's life. The fleet hung silent in space, construction frozen mid-project. The Conclave ships, sleek crystalline vessels that seemed to catch and reflect starlight, passed by at the edge of their sensor range. Diana's whispered report broke the tension. "They're moving away. No indication they spotted us." The collective relief on the bridge was palpable, but Marcus knew this close call held an important lesson. "We need better early warning systems. Work with Dr. Volkov's team to extend our sensor range." Over the next few months, Haven took shape. The first colonists arrived in phases, carefully screened families and specialists chosen to build humanity's future. Deep underground bunkers were constructed, holding weapons and ships that the Conclave would never expect their primitive prisoners to possess. Marcus watched the colony grow from his office in the main habitat ring. The room's window looked out over an artificial lake, where engineers were testing hydroponic farming systems. Above, the habitat's curved ceiling displayed a realistic sky simulation. Latest report from Earth, sir, Diana said, entering with a data crystal. Director Chen says the Antarctic facility is ahead of schedule. The new fleet will be ready within 18 months. Marcus studied the reports. The ships being built in secret would be more powerful than anything in their current fleet. Humanity wasn't just escaping, they were preparing for the day when they would challenge their jailers. Send word to Dr. Volkov, he ordered. Tell her to begin Phase 3 preparations. It's time to expand our network. As Diana left, Marcus turned back to the window. A group of children played near the lake, their laughter carrying through the habitat's atmosphere. They were the first generation of humans to be born beyond the barrier, free from the Conclave's prison. They would grow up among the stars, carrying humanity's future with them. In his pocket, Marcus carried a small hologram of Earth, its surrounding barrier visible as a faint web of light. Every time he looked at it, he remembered the Conclave's judgment, that humanity was too aggressive, too unpredictable to join galactic society. Perhaps they were right about the unpredictable part, but they would soon learn that underestimating humanity was their greatest mistake. Status report from the outer system defenses, Michael's voice came through his comm. All stealth satellites are operational. We'll have advance warning next time. Marcus smiled grimly. Haven was just the beginning. Soon there would be more colonies, more ships, more humans slipping through the cracks in the Conclave's perfect prison. They had caged humanity, expecting submission. Instead, they had created the very thing they feared most, a humanity united in purpose, driven by the desire for freedom, and now armed with technology that surpassed their own. The chains were breaking, one link at a time. And when they finally shattered completely, the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Kira Patel stood at the tactical display aboard the flagship Artemis, watching as dozens of quantum signatures flickered across the map. Each light represented a human ship moving through the darkness between stars, invisible to Conclave sensors. 10 years had passed since Haven's founding, and humanity's hidden empire had grown beyond their wildest expectations. Status report from Outpost Omega, her XO, Commander Thomas Hammond, announced. The new quantum radar array is online. We now have coverage of all major Conclave trade routes in this sector. Kira nodded, her silver-streaked black hair catching the light of nearby holographic displays. At 52, she had witnessed humanity's transformation from prisoners to a rising power. The Artemis itself was proof of that evolution, a warship that could match any Conclave vessel, built with technologies they claimed humans were too primitive to understand. How many colonies are we supporting now? She asked, though she knew the answer. 12 major settlements and 23 outposts, Thomas replied, pulling up the secure network map. Haven remains our largest, but Nova Roma and Shangri-La are catching up. Total population beyond the barrier just passed 1 million. The achievement was staggering, yet had to remain absolutely secret. While the Conclave continued their patrols around Sol, believing humanity safely contained, their prisoners had built an interstellar civilization right under their noses. Admiral, the comm officer Lieutenant Zara Chen, called out, "Priority message from Project Phoenix." Kira's heart quickened. She had been waiting for this, in my ready room. The secure chamber's quantum encryption field hummed to life as Dr. Victor Rossi's hologram appeared. The head of Project Phoenix looked exhausted but triumphant. "It works," he said without preamble. The quantum cascade weapon performed exactly as theoretical models predicted. One shot completely disrupted the test barrier's energy matrix. Kira leaned forward. "Show me." The test footage played out before her. A small prototype weapon fired a beam of twisted spacetime at a replica of the Conclave's containment barrier. The barrier, thought to be impenetrable, shattered like glass. "How soon can we scale it up?" 6 months for capital ship variants, Victor replied. "But Kira, once we use this, there's no going back. The Conclave will know everything." "They'll know we're free," she corrected, "but by then it will be too late." The next few months were a blur of activity. Throughout human space, hidden shipyards worked at maximum capacity, building and arming vessels with the new quantum cascade weapons. Every colony strengthened its defenses, preparing for the day when secrecy would end and war would begin. On patrol near the Pleiades, the Artemis encountered its first major test. A Conclave heavy cruiser, investigating unusual energy readings, strayed too close to a hidden mining operation. They're scanning the asteroid field, Thomas reported tensely. 5 minutes until they detect our facility. Kira studied the tactical display. The Conclave ship was powerful, but it was alone. More importantly, it was operating far from any support. Initiate Protocol 0. Throughout the asteroid field, quantum charges detonated in precise sequence. The explosions created a carefully calculated gravitational wave that appeared completely natural. The Conclave ship, caught in the disturbance, was forced to retreat. "Well done," Kira commended her crew. "But we can't rely on tricks forever. Soon we'll need to stand and fight." Back at Haven, the military command center had grown into a sophisticated operations hub. Kira met with the other fleet commanders, coordinating the final phases of their preparation. "The Conclave is growing suspicious," Admiral Wei Zhang reported. "Their patrols have increased along the outer rim. They know something's happening, but they can't prove what." "Let them wonder," Admiral Maria Hernandez added. "Every day they spend searching is another day we grow stronger." Kira pulled up the latest intelligence. The Conclave, for all their supposed superiority, had become complacent over millennia of unchallenged rule. Their ships were powerful but predictable. Their tactics hadn't evolved in centuries. "Update from Earth," Zara announced during one critical meeting. "The barrier's power signature is fluctuating. Dr. Volkov believes the Conclave is trying to reinforce it." "Too little too late," Thomas observed. But Kira wasn't so sure. "Double our sensor coverage. If they're strengthening the barrier, they might be preparing for something bigger." Her caution proved prescient. 2 weeks later, a massive Conclave fleet assembled near Saturn. Their sensors probed the barrier methodically, searching for any sign of human tampering. "They suspect," Kira told her fellow admirals. "But they still don't understand how we did it. Their scans are focused on conventional space-time distortions." The human fleet gathered in secret, ships emerging from hidden bases and quantum storage docks. The Artemis took its place at the head of the largest battle group, its quantum cascade weapon ready for its first real combat test. "All ships report ready," Thomas announced on the day of decision. 1 million humans in the colonies, 5,000 ships. We've built something remarkable out here, Admiral." Kira looked at the tactical display one last time. Decades of preparation had led to this moment. The Conclave had imprisoned humanity, expecting them to remain trapped and powerless. Instead, they had created the perfect conditions for humanity to evolve into something far more dangerous. A species united by adversity, driven by the desire for freedom, and armed with technologies their jailers never imagined possible. "Send word to all commands," she ordered. "Operation Thunderbolt begins in 48 hours. It's time to show the Conclave exactly what humanity has become." As the orders went out, Kira watched her crew prepare for battle. The silent stars had hidden them well, but soon the galaxy would echo with humanity's response to their imprisonment. The time for hiding was over. The time for revolution had begun. Strategic Director Junwei Wang watched the massive holographic display as thousands of human ships dropped out of quantum phase simultaneously. Operation Thunderbolt had begun, and with it, the greatest military surprise attack in human history. The Conclave's barrier around Earth shimmered in the void, its energy matrix pulsing with artificial light. For nearly 20 years, it had stood as a symbol of humanity's imprisonment. In 30 seconds, that would change forever. "All battle groups report ready," General Rebecca Morrison announced from her command station. "Quantum cascade weapons charged and locked on target." Jun Wei's fingers tightened on the railing of his command platform. At 60, he had spent the last 2 decades coordinating humanity's hidden expansion. Now, everything depended on perfect timing. "Signal from Admiral Patel's fleet," Lieutenant David Foster reported. "The Conclave's home fleet is fully engaged in the Centauri diversion. Their response time to Earth will be at least 40 minutes. "Begin the countdown," Junwei ordered. "All ships execute on mark." The seconds ticked by with agonizing slowness. On Earth below, billions watched the sky, waiting for the signal. In orbit, Conclave monitoring stations continued their routine surveillance, unaware of the invisible armada surrounding them. "Fire!" 1,000 quantum cascade beams lanced out simultaneously, striking the barrier at precisely calculated points. The Conclave's supposedly impenetrable prison wall shattered like broken glass. fragments of energy dispersing into space. Multiple conclave installations powering weapons, Rebecca reported calmly. Enemy response in 3 minutes. Junwei nodded. They had planned for this. Launch Phase 2, all strike teams, you have your targets. Across the solar system, human ships appeared from quantum phase directly alongside conclave monitoring stations. Marines in advanced combat suits breached the alien structures before they could transmit warnings. Each installation had to be captured intact. Their data would be crucial in the battles to come. First waves of civilian ships emerging from Earth, David announced. The evacuation corridors are clear. This had been the riskiest part of the plan. For the past 5 years, enormous underground facilities had prepared millions of civilians for immediate space travel. Now, as the barrier fell, they launched in waves of transport ships, heading for pre-planned sanctuary worlds beyond the Sol system. Conclave quick reaction force detected, Rebecca's voice cut through the command center. 3 capital ships approaching from Venus orbit. Right on schedule, Junwei said. Admiral Patel, they're all yours. The Artemis and its battle group dropped their quantum phasing, appearing behind the conclave vessels. The alien ships, caught completely by surprise, didn't even have time to raise their shields before the first salvos struck. Enemy ships neutralized, came Admiral Patel's calm report. No survivors, no distress signals sent. Junwei allowed himself a small smile. The Conclave had always believed their technology was far superior to humanity's. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Sir, David called out, incoming transmission from Haven Colony. Director Chen requests immediate conference. The quantum communication chamber activated, displaying holograms of humanity's key leaders. Director Nathan Chen, now in his 70s but still sharp as ever, spoke first. Phase 1 is complete. All colonial defense grids are active. We're ready to receive Earth's evacuees. Dr. Alina Volkov, her hair now white but her eyes still fierce, added, the quantum disruption field is holding. Conclave reinforcements will find their FTL drives useless within 5 light-years of Sol. What about the Centauri Gambit? Junwei asked. Admiral Wei Zhang's hologram smiled grimly. The Conclave took the bait. Their main fleet is chasing sensor ghosts through the Alpha Centauri system. By the time they realize it's a deception, Earth will be empty. The plan was working perfectly, almost too perfectly. Junwei had learned through bitter experience that perfect plans often hid unexpected dangers. Status of civilian evacuation, he asked. Rebecca pulled up the statistics. 30% complete. At current rates, we'll have the priority population relocated within 12 hours. Those 12 hours proved to be the longest of Junwei's life. The Conclave, finding their fastest ships unable to enter the Sol system, resorted to conventional drives. Their vessels would arrive in waves, each one larger than the last. First major enemy fleet approaching Mars orbit, David reported. 50 capital ships, at least 200 escorts. Junwei studied their formation. The Conclave, true to form, was using tactics unchanged in centuries. Deploy the quantum mines, let's show them how warfare has evolved while they weren't looking. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for centuries to come. The Conclave fleet, attempting to break through to Earth, found itself trapped in a web of quantum phase explosives. Ships vanished into artificial singularities or found themselves twisted into impossible shapes by localized space-time distortions. Civilian evacuation 70% complete, Rebecca updated. But we're detecting massive Conclave fleet movements across their entire territory. They're mobilizing everything they have. Junwei had expected this. The Conclave couldn't afford to let their prisoners escape. It would shatter their image of invincibility and encourage other subject species to rebel. Message from Dr. Rossi on Haven, David announced. Project Phoenix is ready for full deployment. That was the signal Junwei had been waiting for. Initialize the quantum barrier network. It's time to turn their own tactics against them. Across human-controlled space, hidden installations activated. Just as the Conclave had imprisoned humanity in Sol, now humanity would trap the Conclave fleets in their own territories. The quantum barrier network, far more sophisticated than the original alien design, began cutting the galaxy into isolated sectors. Sir, Rebecca's voice held a note of awe, it's working. The Conclave fleets, they're all trapped. Each sector is cut off from the others. Junwei watched as the tactical display updated. The mighty Conclave, rulers of the galaxy for millennia, found themselves divided and isolated by the very technology they had used to imprison humanity. Civilian evacuation complete, David reported finally. Earth is secured, all military objectives achieved. In the quantum communication chamber, the human leadership gathered again. Director Chen spoke for them all. Phase 1 is complete. The uprising has begun. Now comes the hard part, winning the war we've just started. Junwei looked at the tactical display one last time. Humanity had struck the first blow, but this was just the beginning. The Conclave had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They wouldn't surrender easily. But as he watched the coordinated movements of the human fleet, saw the determination in the eyes of his officers, he knew something the Conclave didn't. Humanity had spent their imprisonment preparing not just for escape, but for victory. The real war was about to begin. Grand Chancellor Evelyn Drake walked through the gleaming halls of humanity's new embassy on Centauri Prime, her footsteps echoing against polished stone quarried from a dozen worlds. 5 years had passed since Operation Thunderbolt, and the galaxy had changed forever. Behind her, a delegation of Conclave representatives followed, their once proud bearing now tempered by defeat. The Auroran ambassador's crystalline form caught the light, refracting it dimly, a far cry from the brilliant displays of power they once exhibited. The terms are non-negotiable, Evelyn stated, entering the grand conference chamber. At 65, she carried herself with the authority of someone who had helped forge an empire from the ashes of imprisonment. The era of Conclave dominion is over. The chamber itself was a testament to humanity's new power. The ceiling displayed a real-time hologram of human-controlled space, nearly a third of the galaxy, gained through a combination of military victory and diplomatic alliances with other species who had chafed under Conclave rule. Surely there can be some accommodation, the Auroran ambassador began, but fell silent as Admiral Kira Patel's hologram materialized beside Evelyn. The same accommodation you showed us, Kira asked coldly, when you imprisoned our entire species. The tactical display activated, showing the current state of the war. Pockets of Conclave resistance remained, but their once mighty civilization had been shattered by humanity's quantum warfare. Their own barrier technology, refined and turned against them, had divided their forces into isolated sectors that were defeated one by one. Director Wang's fleet has secured the Orion Spur, Kira reported. The last Conclave holdouts there have surrendered. Evelyn nodded. Junwei had proven instrumental in the war, his strategic genius helping to dismantle the Conclave's military piece by piece. Now, he led the effort to integrate former Conclave worlds into the new galactic order. Chancellor, her aide, Marcus Chen, interrupted quietly. The representatives from the Free Worlds Coalition have arrived. This was what Evelyn had been waiting for. As the doors opened, delegates from 24 former Conclave slave species entered. There were the silicon-based Denavans, the hyper-intelligent quantum collectives, and even a few rogue Aurorans who had sided with humanity. Welcome to the dawn of a new era, Evelyn announced. Today, we formalize the alliance that will replace the Conclave's tyranny. The meeting that followed would be recorded in history as the founding of the Galactic Concordat. Unlike the Conclave's rigid hierarchy, this would be a true federation of equals. Humanity, as the architect of liberation, would lead initially, but with checks and balances ensuring no species could dominate as the Conclave had. In orbit above, the Artemis held station alongside ships from a dozen allied species. Admiral Patel stood on her bridge, watching the proceedings through quantum communication. Message from Haven Colony, her XO reported. Dr. Volkov's team has successfully reversed the damage to Earth's barrier. Our homeworld is fully accessible again. Elena's last great work before retirement had been ensuring that humanity would never again be imprisoned by their own technology. The quantum barriers now served as a defensive network, protecting human and allied worlds while allowing free travel for friendly vessels. Status of the Conclave leadership, Kira asked. Most have accepted exile to their designated sanctuary worlds, Thomas replied, though there are rumors of hardliners gathering in the Carina arm. Let them gather, Kira thought. Humanity had learned from its imprisonment, emerging stronger and more united than ever. Any future threat would face not just human ingenuity, but a coalition of species bound together by their shared desire for freedom. Back in the conference chamber, Evelyn activated the quantum archive, displaying humanity's journey from prisoners to liberators. "We were judged too aggressive, too unpredictable to join galactic society," she told the assembled delegates. "The conclave feared our potential for change, our drive to evolve and grow." The images showed humanity's secret exodus, the building of hidden colonies, the development of technologies that surpassed their jailers. They thought isolation would weaken us. Instead, it unified us. They thought imprisonment would humble us. Instead, it drove us to heights they never imagined possible. Dr. Victor Rossi, now leading the coalition's scientific council, added his own historical note. "The quantum cascade technology that won the war was developed because we had to think beyond conventional physics. Our imprisonment forced us to explore paths the conclave had never considered." The new Concordat would maintain peace through strength, but also through understanding. The quantum collectives would share their computational insights, the Donovans their ancient knowledge of stellar engineering. Humanity would contribute their drive for innovation, their ability to imagine and achieve the impossible. "We stand at a crossroads," Evelyn concluded, addressing not just the delegates but the billions watching through quantum transmission across former conclave space. "The old order of domination and stagnation is ended. Before us lies a future of unlimited potential if we have the courage to grasp it." The signing ceremony that followed was brief but historic. Species that had been enemies now pledged cooperation. The conclave representatives, witnessing their final defeat, accepted terms that would have been unimaginable a decade ago. Later, in her private chamber, Evelyn reviewed messages from across human space. Haven Colony had grown into a thriving world of 10 million. Nova Roma was becoming the greatest center of learning in known space. Earth itself was recovering, its population returning to a planet now protected by its own determination rather than alien prison walls. "To think," she mused to her aide, "they believed they could contain us." Marcus smiled. "Their greatest mistake was giving us time to prepare, while believing we would simply accept our fate." Evelyn walked to the window, looking out at the stars that humanity had claimed as their own. The conclave had imprisoned them, believing they were preserving galactic stability. Instead, they had created the force that would transform the galaxy forever. "Send word to all worlds," she ordered. "The new era begins today." As quantum messages carried her words across the stars, Evelyn thought of all those who had made this moment possible: Elena's brilliance, Jun Wei's strategy, Kira's courage, and countless others who had dared to dream of freedom. The conclave had called humanity unpredictable and dangerous. They had been right, but not in the way they feared. Humanity had proven unpredictable in their ability to unite, to innovate, to overcome impossible odds. They had proven dangerous not to peace, but to tyranny. The stars that had witnessed their imprisonment now shone on their triumph, and the galaxy would never be the same.